Today, we're diving into one of the most highly anticipated cameras in the world of photography and video, the Sony A7V. Over the past several months, I've received countless questions from professional photographers, videographers, and content creators asking, when is the A7V coming out? What features will it have? Will it be worth upgrading from the A7 IV? In this detailed breakdown, I won't just repeat rumors. Instead, I'll give you a realistic prediction of what Sony could bring with this new model, based on the evolution of the Sony A7 IV, the performance of higher-end cameras like the Sony A7V III and Sony A7V II, and Sony's overall strategy. In the full-frame mirrorless market. We'll go step by step through the design, body, sensor, autofocus system, video capabilities, burst shooting speed, and pricing expectations, before finally asking the big question, should you wait for the A7V or stick with what you have? So let's dive into design and build of the Sony A7V. Sony usually takes a careful, evolutionary approach when updating its Alpha series. That means the A7V is likely to retain much of the DNA of the A7 IV but with refinements. Borrowed from the A7 III and A7 series, expect a slightly more rounded design with better ergonomics, especially in the hand grip. Photographers who shoot long events like weddings or travel photography will appreciate a body that feels more balanced and comfortable over hours of use. Sony will probably make some trade-offs to keep the camera at a competitive price point. For instance, while the A7 III offers a super high-resolution 120Hz electronic viewfinder, the A7V will likely have a more modest EVF, still good, but not quite flagship level. The fully articulating screen will almost certainly stay, making it perfect for vloggers, interview setups, and solo content creators. It's unlikely Sony will reinvent the wheel here, but keeping the flexible display is almost guaranteed. We can also expect the camera body to remain weather-sealed against dust and splashes. For professionals working outdoors, this durability has become the minimum standard. Sensor and image quality. The current A7 IV packs a 33-megapixel sensor, which many photographers consider a sweet spot for both stills and video. So what happens with the A7V? I don't see Sony reducing resolution, but I also don't expect them to push into 60MP territory because that's reserved for the A7R line. Instead, a bump to 40 to 44 megapixels seems realistic, giving a little more detail without cannibalizing the 7R series. The real upgrade will likely be in sensor readout speed. A partially stacked sensor seems the most logical choice. It balances affordability with faster performance. This would improve burst shooting, video recording, and reduce rolling shutter issues that still affect the A7 IV.AS for ISO performance. The A7 IV already performs admirably up to ISO 6400 to 8000, but with the A7V we should see even cleaner low-light results, thanks to an updated Bionz XR processor. For event shooters, wedding photographers, and journalists, this will be a welcome upgrade. Autofocus with artificial intelligence. If there's one area Sony won't compromise on, it's autofocus. In fact, this is where we can almost guarantee the biggest leap forward. Even mid-range models like the Sony ZV-E1 and Sony A6700 now feature AI-driven subject recognition. These systems can lock onto people, animals, birds, cars, trains, airplanes, and even insects with incredible reliability. The A7V will undoubtedly inherit this predictive AI autofocus system, making it much smarter at tracking moving subjects in both photo and video. Expect real-time tracking that's faster, more accurate, and more consistent, even in low-light or high-contrast scenes. For sports shooters, wildlife enthusiasts, and filmmakers, this will be a game-changing improvement. Burst shooting speed and performance. Here's where the A7 IV shows its age. Its burst rate tops out at around 10 frames per second, which was fine back in 2021, but now feels behind competitors. I predict the A7V will offer 15 to 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter, which would finally bring it in line with other standard full-frame models from Canon and Nikon. Combined with the faster sensor readout, this will significantly cut down rolling shutter distortion. Don't expect a global shutter like the one in the A7 III, that would raise the price far too much. But a partially stacked sensor seems like the sweet spot, offering speed without inflating cost. This upgrade will make the A7V far more appealing to sports, action, and wildlife photographers who rely on capturing fast, unpredictable moments. Video recording capabilities. Now let's talk video, the area where hybrid shooters have the highest expectations. One of the biggest criticisms of the A7 IV was that it couldn't record 4K 60 frames per second using the full-frame sensor. Instead, it forced users into a Super 35 crop mode. By the time it launched, many competitors already offered full-frame 4K 60 at similar price points. That's why I'm almost certain the Alpha 7V will finally bring 4K 60 with no crop. This will be a major selling point for content creators, YouTubers, and filmmakers who need versatility in one camera body. Will we see 4K 120 frames per second? Possibly, but likely in a crop mode to avoid heat issues and higher costs. As for 8K recording, I doubt it. That feature will remain reserved for flagship models like the Alpha 1.0. In short, the Alpha 7V will deliver what the A7 IV couldn't: full-frame 4K 60, improved color science, and better heat management for longer recording sessions. Expected price of the Sony Alpha 7V. This is the question everyone is asking. How much will it cost? When the Sony Alpha 7 IV launched in 2021, its retail price was around €2,800. Fast forward to today, and almost every manufacturer has raised prices across their entire lineup. Just look at the Sony FX2, which recently launched at around €3,200. That makes it nearly impossible for Sony to price the Alpha 7V under €3,200. My prediction? It will fall somewhere between €3,200 and €3,500, most likely landing around €3,400. Yes, it's expensive. But that's the reality of the market in 2025. Camera technology has improved, but so have production costs, and Sony has no reason to undervalue a model as important as the Alpha 7 series. Should you wait for the Sony Alpha 7V? This is the big question. If you already own a Sony A7 IV, should you repair it, keep using it, or hold out for the Alpha 7V? If your A7 IV is working perfectly, and you mostly shoot still photography, you might not need the upgrade right away. The A7 IV remains an incredibly capable camera for weddings, portraits, landscapes, and even professional-level projects. However, if you're a videographer, the Alpha 7V will probably be worth the wait. The addition of uncropped 4K 60, faster autofocus, and higher burst rates make it much more future-proof for hybrid creators. For those with an A7 IV nearing the end of its shutter life, the decision will come down to repair costs versus new investment. A shutter replacement could cost around €700, which might be worth it if you plan to wait another year or two before upgrading. But if you're ready to jump into the latest tech, saving for the Alpha 7V might be the smarter move. Final thoughts: the Sony Alpha 7V is shaping up to be one of the most exciting and versatile cameras of the year. While it may not reinvent the wheel, it will likely fix the biggest shortcomings of the A7 IV: faster burst shooting, AI-powered autofocus tracking, 4K 60 frames per second full-frame recording without crop, improved sensor readout speed, cleaner low-light performance. All of this will make it a highly reliable tool for both professional photographers and filmmakers. Of course, with a price tag around €3,400, it won't be cheap. But given Sony's track record, the Alpha 7V will become one of the most popular and widely used full-frame hybrids on the market, just like its predecessors. So, what do you think? Will you be waiting for the Sony Alpha